Yes. Okay, we are live.
Live. I hope so. Hang on. Yes,
We are live.
live. I hope so. Yes,
Hang
we are
on.
live.
Guys, we're gonna give
I hope
me,
so.
you're gonna give me, let me see. Okay.
It's
Am
a
I-
retour of your voice.
Am I still? No, now it's good.
No. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, excellent. Hi, guys. Sorry for the glitch. With technology, it's always interesting, especially when you're doing something for the first time. So this is the first time I actually go live on Facebook from Zoom. I didn't even know that this option existed. So thank you, Talal, for showing me this trick. Now I can always go from Zoom direct to live to Facebook because apparently the resolution is way much nicer. I can see us on the other screen, by the way. All right. Welcome, everyone. And thank you for joining us today on this very, very special live. And it's always special to have Talal here with me. For those of you who don't know Talal, Talal is also a life coach. And he is also someone who is, like me, very interested in the brain and our mind and how our mind works. So today, this is the topic that we're going to be talking about. We're going to be together for around 1 hour. And if the topic is really, really, really nice and Talal and I cannot stop talking, who knows, maybe we will stay longer. But initially, we're going to be here for 1 hour. Now, I would love it if you can stay till the end because I have an invitation for you at the end. So stay tuned. And without further ado, I'm just going to give you a hint about the topic today. So today we're going to be talking about mindset and the importance of mindset and how much it is crucial for every single one of us to understand what happens in our mind and why mindset is very important. And I will also be sharing with you some tips on how you can start shifting your mindset by creating new habits for yourself in your life. And I understand sometimes because shifting something usually takes time, although Talal and I both know that it's not necessarily true, right? But that's the general consensus that changing habits or changing our mindset or even changing our beliefs takes time. So to give you a bit of a support, I'm gonna share with you some tips on how you can make your habits, the new habits, how you can adapt them and make them your habits, because they're not now, but once you adapt them and you use those tips that I'm gonna share with you, they will become habits for you. So just as a reminder, our mind is the most important thing that anyone can have. Now, a lot of people don't realize that, we hear it a lot when we hear people saying, we don't use a lot of our brain. We only use 10% of our brain. Some people use even less, but, the normal people would use 10% of their brain. And that 10% is actually our mind. It's our most important asset, I would say, right? It's our mind. It's where the thinking happens. Now, the other part that this is the conscious mind. The other part of our mind is our subconscious mind. This is where everything that we are not physically or constantly or momentarily aware of is happening. I spoke about this before, and I always speak about this, and I always give you the example of, imagine if I have to think of what I'm saying right now, what is happening in the background, what I'm hearing, that my heart is beating, that my blood is flowing, that I'm digesting whatever I had for lunch. Imagine that I have to actually consciously be thinking of all of these thoughts. And remember, these are thoughts. It's true that they are actions, but they originated as thoughts. So if we did not have this subconscious mind of ours, which is running, which is the autopilot as well, which is running everything on autopilot, imagine how our mind would be cluttered. It's already very cluttered if we are not thinking of all of these things. So can you imagine just adding to that everything that we are doing or everything that our body goes through? And by the way, if you want to think about it like from a physical perspective, you can think about it in a way that your mind is what you think of, but the rest of your body is actually your subconscious mind, right, Talal? Does it make
Of
sense?
course, 95% to be exact. 95%.
What's the other? 95% is your subconscious mind, you mean? Okay,
Yes, and 5% is the conscious mind.
tell me more.
Yeah.
Let
Thank
the-
you very much. I wanted to allow you. You said you wanted to give an example of. You want to kick off with an example. I know that viewers, they love, metaphors. They love examples, and we're gonna go through, I think, a couple of those so that they can understand a lot more on what we mean by mindset. But
yeah.
if we go to the word itself, when I talk about mindset to my clients, they're like, can we actually do that? It says mind and set. That means setting your mind, and they're like, there's no way we can set our mind. It's, it just functions, it just works. It's a gift from God, and it's set to be this way, and this is how it's supposed to work. So they think unconsciously, which is the 95%. And I totally get it. I totally understand that when they say that. And then they get amazed when I start telling them more about it, as you quite rightly mentioned, to go to understand how the mind works, to understand how the brain works, what happens within our mind, our brain, our nervous system as a whole is quite astonishing. And this is why we went into hypnosis. This is why we studied more about NLP, me and your good self. We took all these courses to understand really more, because a lot of people don't get it, they actually get it, but they don't get it, right? So once, exactly. So once we finish the session, they'll be, and I'm sure you've experienced that with a lot of your clients, they will be so amazed, and they're like, we didn't know we could do that. We didn't know we can really control our mind. We didn't know, because what happens is, and this is very important, your mind, as Osho says, your mind can be your servant and your mind can be your master. And it's up to you to choose which one of these do you want to go with. So it can, if you're totally unconscious, that means your mind is the master and it will run the show. It will gladly run the show, because this is the primary directive of the mind, as we know, or the unconscious mind, is to keep us alive. And it's going to do everything in its power to keep us alive. This is why we breathe at night, even though, we're not in control of breathing. We're not in control of our heartbeat. We're not in control of how our organs inside our body works. God and our unconscious mind said, human being, I don't want you to worry about this. Let me take care of that. You handle everything else. I'm gonna take care of that for you.
Yeah.
So if we understand that, we are at ease, and we say, Alhamdulillah, God is doing this for me. And as I said in one of my videos, it just came to me once when I woke up in the morning, to wake up in the morning and just be able to breathe and say, Alhamdulillah, it's like, that's a miracle in itself. And I did a video about that. Like, we always take it as a given that we're going to wake up the next morning. Yeah, we're going to wake up the next morning. It's going to be another day. But who said we're going to wake up? It's only God who decides. It's only our unconscious mind decides if we're going to wake up in the morning. So a lot of the things, back to your point, a lot of things are controlled, yes, by the unconscious mind. But what we are going to tell you today is, and what Maysoon is going to take you through, is what can we do and the steps that we can take to actually be in control, because that's the whole game, right?
Yes, that is the whole game. Thank you so much. Wow, this is very, I told you, let's go with the flow, but this is a lot of flow.
This is too flow.
No, but this is really, it is actually the most important thing that we want to learn, we want to understand, is what is the difference between the two, and where is it that we can, what is it that we can control? Because obviously we can control. I personally say we are the boss. You are saying that we have the option, and that's true. We do have the option by either being the boss or being the servant. I decided to be the boss. I remember, and that's the example. I remember I used to, and you know me, Talal, you've known me for years, and you know what kind of a person I am and how positive I am. And I've always been that positive and cheerful person, right? But then I did not know that there was more to it than just being positive, because it's, you know, there are lots of people who are positive out there, but they can't make anything out of their lives. There are lots of people who are poor, are positive. There are lots of people who are sick and are positive. There are lots of people who are unhappy somehow, but are also positive. So being positive alone is not enough. And I had to go through this myself to understand, because I always tell everyone around me, remember to be positive, and remember that positivity is very important. It is very important. It's true. And it's also a catalyst. It will help us a lot when we are about to make that shift in our mindset, right? But positivity on its own is not enough, because the thoughts that we have in our brain, with positivity alone, we won't be able to really declutter them. And this is the importance, and this is where mind shifting happens. When you start decluttering your mind, when you start decluttering your thoughts, and when you start, and you mentioned NLP, but let me just explain it to the people who are watching us. NLP is basically neuro-linguistic programming. And neuro is obviously referring to the neurons in our brain, right? Linguistic, it refers to the language. And then programming, it refers to the programming. What neuro-linguistic programming teaches us mainly is how our language, the things that we say to ourselves, and the things, not just the language that we say, but also the language that we use when we are thinking. Because sometimes we say things, but the language in our mind is different. So when we are thinking, the words, the language that we use in our thoughts even, is what will make or break whatever we are trying to do. So today, if I tell you, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy, but in my mind, all I'm thinking is I'm miserable, obviously the words that are coming out of my mind are not gonna work. Because why? Our subconscious mind, and this is where the importance of mind shifting happens, is when you shift your mind, it doesn't happen in your consciousness. You start it in your consciousness. And that's why habits are very important, because when you shift your mind, you start the process in your conscious mind, but the end result has got to become a subconscious action, right?
Of course, of
You wanna,
course.
you wanna,
Yes, absolutely true. And going back, I think, as I gave an example of some of my clients who actually, when I talk to them about mindset, and you know, as you mentioned in your post, I loved your post, by the way, that you, for this episode, when you mentioned that it is at the core. So mindset is at the core of what we do, us as coaches. It is at the core of mental, I always say it's at the core of mental health and mental well-being. And it's an amazing, I think, journey both of us have gone through so far, and there's still much more to learn. But I used to train. I used to be I'm still a corporate trainer for over 10 years now. And in corporate training, I always say we always talk about skill set. So when we give training at, for certain corporates, we always talk about, sharpening the skills of employees in certain areas, working so much on the skills. Now, when I took this course, when I went into coaching, life coaching and neuro-linguistic programming and hypnosis, I found that it was so astonishing, and there's so much more to that. And skill set on its own is not enough. And what I'm doing right now for corporates is that, and they love my programs, is that I'm bringing together skill set and mindset, because without the mindset, even if you work on the skills, if you don't have the right mindset, as you quite rightly mentioned, it's not gonna help much.
Yeah.
And we're gonna be talking later on about, formulas, maybe solutions, different steps that people can take. It's a huge topic. As you quite rightly mentioned, we can talk for myself, I can make a full day workshop on just mindset. I can talk for hours and hours. Yes. So you have to stop me. You have to tell me when to stop, because I'm gonna keep going on and on and on. And just, I think, going back to, I don't think we have defined what mindset is. And I was trying, it was interesting because I was looking at,
There are so many different definitions,
Yes, exactly. Different definitions. So I looked it up, and the most one, obviously, you and I, we always refer to it. I think for our viewers, to put it in plain English, as they say, a series of beliefs, established set of attitudes, values, self-perceptions that we make about ourselves and how we see the world.
Yeah.
So this is why when we say mindset is at the core of everything of the mind, that means it is at the core, it is the essence, it is the foundation. If we don't work, us as coaches, on the mindset of our clients and how to shift, as you quite rightly mentioned, because this episode is all about, we're not going to give them many details because we want them to come to us, okay, for further information.
We will give them details that will be helpful for them, especially
yes,
start this process, because
exactly,
always, when you have it's like starting a car, right? You can start a car and run with it for some miles if you have a little bit of fuel, but then to go further you need a lot more fuel. So that's exactly what's happening here. But today I will be giving a lot of tips. I will be sharing a lot of things, but it's very important that you've mentioned what mindset is. So mindset, basically, since if you just remember the explanation that Talal gave, which is a set of beliefs, a set of actions, a set of reactions, a set of perceptions that we have. The fact is, we have them, right? They are not somewhere out there. They are ours. So the fact that they are ours, it means to me, in my simple mind, that I have control, right? For me, this is what I believe. Because they are mine, it means that I have the control over them. Now, the thing is, because a lot of these beliefs specifically, we're talking about that specifically, they are so rooted within us. They are so rooted within our being that they become so, how do you call it? So far from us, because we don't really know them. Because to find them, you have to dig, you have to understand what are they? Because most of the time we don't know what is limiting us in our life. And we just go through life and we find obstacles and we don't understand why these obstacles are there. But then these obstacles are mainly created by our limiting beliefs. Before I dive into the limiting beliefs, just let me, since you've tackled the definition of mindset, let me also give you, my viewers, and whoever is viewing also from Talal's side, the 3 different types of mindsets that exist out there. Now, again, remember, mindsets are ours. It's not something that we get from outside. It is mine. It's my mind at the end of the day, right? And like you said, it's us. They're our beliefs, our perceptions, our view of, and our emotional states, all of this. Now, there are 3 different types of mindset. The first one is the fixed mindset. And the fixed mindset is exactly what it means. It's a fixed mindset, which means that if you think you have this mindset, it means that really you are born this way and there is nothing on the face of this planet that will change that way for you. So that is a fixed mindset. You have already decided in your mind that there is nothing that will change your mindset. Now, if you have this mindset, stay tuned, because I think if you go through this with us, then if you watch some of the other videos that I have in my group, you will realize that this is not true. I don't believe that there is a fixed mindset, except if you are taking the decision to fix it, to make it fixed, to keep it where it is. However, mindset is actually a very, everything about who we are is very, dare I say, elastic. I think elastic is, it gives it the right, because we can do with it whatever we want. We can do with our mind, we can stretch it, we can limit it, we can mold it the way we want, but we want to know how, and we want to know what tools exist out there for us to mold our mind, to mold our brain. And then when we do that, we are becoming in the growth mindset. The minute we start molding, the minute we start realizing that this mindset has a capacity that we don't know about yet, and we give ourselves the benefit of the doubt to actually explore in that direction and to figure out that we do have those capacities, not even one, not just one. We have so much happening out there in that mind of ours, and it has so much capacity that I know for myself why, because I always say, and I always repeat this every single time I'm on a live for some reason, because when you start learning, so when you start that growth mindset journey or path, I compare it, Talal, to the Pringles advertisement. When you pop, you don't stop.
Yeah.
That's exactly the same. When you start working on your mindset, it's exactly the same. I'm going to stay in the second type of mindset, which is the growth mindset for now. And I will tackle the third type later on, because now I want to understand also from Talal, when we are talking about a growth mindset, and that's the most important mindset of all, because this is what takes you from point A to point B, and then from point B to point C, and then you go, and the road is only upwards. I see it when you start. So tell me what you think.
Yeah, absolutely right. I think by the definition that I gave of mindset to begin with, I totally understand. And this is when we talk, you and I, to our clients, and we hear them out, and we are having that conversation with them. They tap into, or they mention the fact that, I know I'm not worthy, I know I cannot be successful because this is this has been with me since I was a kid, and I always believed that success was nothing for me, and luck is never on my side, and you hear all of these things. And when you hear that, and quite understandably so, I totally get it, and I totally understand where they're coming from, because this is what we thought, you and I thought years back, that this is our destiny, and we used to hear it from our parents. This is the way that we were born, it's in our DNA, and this is how we're going to get on with life. We're going to do our best. Okay, we're going to do our best, try to do our best, and then whatever happens happens. Okay, there's bits of accurate information there, but most of it is not true.
Yeah.
Because if we go back to the principles of neuro-linguistic programming, and I mentioned that in an earlier live that we had, together, is that you are not your beliefs, you are not your thoughts, and you are not your emotions. You are much more than that. Now, when people, this is the core, when we start from there, and this is where mindset comes in, where people think about fixed, as you mentioned, fixed mindset is everything that I've mentioned now, that this is me, all right? My beliefs, my values, my perception of reality, my perception of the world, the information that I have, everything that I've learned from my parents, from society, this is who I am. And yes, quite rightly so, this is our identity, what we call identity. But then there is much more than that. And once we start giving this opportunity for our clients to really dig a little bit deeper and try to find out, because once they say I am not worthy, or let's say I cannot do anything good in my life, I cannot be successful in my life. So my question immediately to the person would be, are you sure of that? Is that like absolutely sure? Is that like 100% right? Haven't you at any point in your time done anything that you're proud of, anything that has been successful? And then they think back and they're like, oh yes, when I was 15, I was the first in class and I did that, and I didn't even study for that test, but then I scored the highest grade in class and I was so proud and I received a certificate. And all of a sudden he starts smiling, and you can feel him going, shifting as if at that instant he's like, no, I'm not a failure, because actually I did something. So the moment that one thing, if a person can remember one thing that in their life that they've done well, or they've done successfully, that means that rule does not apply. No, you are not a failure, because you've done it before, you can do it again. There's no obstacle, nothing will prevent you from doing that again. So we start from there, and we start moving them slowly, as you mentioned, from that fixed mindset into what we call the growth mindset. Growth mindset is where the dreams are, where they really want to aspire to, where they really want to live, and people have different dreams, as we know, they have different aspirations, and we always leave it obviously to the imagination because we can go wild in our imagination. And I'm sure you've talked about, and we've talked about that in the previous episode, where we said the mind does not differentiate between a real experience and something that you are imagining. So this is also one of the directives of the unconscious mind. And when I did that, the test to my clients, they're like, oh, no, this is true. They were imagining something, and I told them, do this, imagine it in your mind that you can do this, but then your hand will go further, and it actually goes further. And they're like, oh my God, I just imagined that. How come it happened, in reality? And I said, there you go. That's the proof, because the mind does not know the difference. And that gives just the power of our imagination, the power of once we set our mind to something. And as you quite rightly mentioned about positivity, I hate, not hate, but I don't like the word positivity that much anymore, because, and I quite understand why some coaches, they use that. Okay, now that's up to them. They use that in that, stay positive, life is beautiful, everything is fine, just stay positive and everything will work out. As you said, we've tried that before, it didn't work out. That's because we were pretending to be positive, but deep down inside we were like, no, there was something really deeply wrong. And the fact that mindset is so important. Why? Because as we said, it has to do with the beliefs, it has to do with the values, and all these are rooted, as we know, where in our program, what we call the conditioning, right? And this is why, Maysoon, it is so difficult for some people to contemplate and to comprehend when we tell them that you can easily change your mind. And I totally understand. I totally understand where they're coming from, because it is not as easy as we think it is. But then when they start, as you said, building new habits, when they start doing it over and over again, they're gonna realize soon enough. But people, they quickly give up. They give up very quickly, and they're like, no, this is not working. Now, science has shown us that the mind, for the neurons to fire and wire and build a new habit, it takes 21 days. Now, this is scientifically proven. This is not Talal's law. This is not Maysoon's law. This is scientifically proven by science, which means, we have to believe it, right? Because it's science. It's not me. It's 21 days. Do that consecutively, a new habit. If you want to build a new habit, if you want to create a new habit, do it for 21 days, and I guarantee you that it's going to fire and wire in your brain, but you have to be consistent in doing it. Why? Because, and I mentioned this to you in my previous episode and live as well, and I've written it over here. You remember the CSBR, right?
CSBR. Can we
CSBR. Okay, now where is the mindset? The mindset is right here, right? It's in the C. It's our conditioning. This is where the program is. This is the unconscious program, right? So it's here. It is so difficult because people normally they struggle right here, right? And the B, which is the behavior, right? As we know. So it's conditioning, state S, then behavior is B, and R is the result. So in order to change your result or your outcome, you have to change your behavior. Now, what is your behavior? Your behavior is the choices, the decisions, and the actions that you do and you take. So in order, and what controls the behavior? It is our state. What is the state? It's our attitude, right? What I call attitude, it's the state of being. Are we happy? Are you sad? Are you depressed? Are you upset? Are you angry? Because this defines your behavior. If you're angry, you're going to behave in a certain way, which will give you a certain result. Unlike if you're happy, you're going to behave in a much different way, and it will give you a different result. Now, in order for this S to work, that means the C has to be right. And our work as coaches, Maysoon and myself, is always right here.
Yeah.
Okay. When we do corporate training, they're always working right here. They always say, yeah, well, if you change your behavior, you get some new skills. You're going to be able to make some new decisions. You're going to be able to pick some new choices, and therefore you're going to have a different result. But no, we as coaches, mental well-being and mental health coaches, we have to go back to the state, work on the state. And if it doesn't work here, that means there's something in the conditioning, and we can always change that. We can always change in the habits that we have accumulated, the beliefs, the behaviors, the values, whatever that is in that C that we've accumulated over time. Why? Because we have learned them. Whatever is learned can be
changed.
Can be unlearned, right?
Yeah, correct. So basically, going back to that point where your C is, which is the conditioning. The conditioning is basically, and I talk about our limiting beliefs all the time, and it's not about the values and everything. We all have them, guys. Just even myself, even Talal, we all have limiting beliefs. Now, if you are in the fixed mindset, and I tell you, you are not in the fixed mindset. Whoever is watching this is not in a fixed mindset. Why? Just because you are watching this. Because you are watching this, it means that you have already understood that some way, somehow, you can change things for yourself. You can change the way you live your life. You can change the way you feel, the way you react, the way you act, the way you think. The matter of the fact is, the minute you are here, or the minute you come to me, or you come to Talal, it means that you've already crossed the mindset, the fixed mindset status, right? Because otherwise, you wouldn't be here. So people who have a fixed mindset would probably be our parents, would probably be the people who would never even think of, going and knocking on the door of someone who might be able to help them and lead them in that journey of self-development and, becoming more aware about the things that they have internally. And when I talk about the things that they have internally, and that's why we always go back to the conditioning. I personally believe that everything starts with the conditioning. And you mentioned DNA for us as Theta healers as well, because I'm not only an NLP practitioner, I'm also a Theta healer. So for us as Theta healers, it's very important to find anything that is limiting us that's not necessarily starting with us now, that's not necessarily been accumulated with us only when we were born, because there are lots of things that we carry through our DNA, and our DNA is thousands and thousands of years. These are strands that are very, very dated. It's not like my DNA did not just start when I was born. I took my DNA from my mom and my dad, and they took theirs from their parents and their parents. And, so going back and back and back, this is an ancestral line that we are carrying. And it's not just something that we have developed through our life now here on this planet or in this timeline or whatever you want to consider it, right? So that's why it's very important when we are talking about shifting our beliefs or shifting our mind. I believe it always starts from shifting our beliefs, because the minute we start shifting our beliefs, that's where it's like if you have a very small fire and you start putting fuel on that fire, it becomes, you know, it just goes crazy. That's exactly what happens when you start removing your limiting beliefs. And they are called limiting beliefs because they limit us. It's as simple as that, right?
Yeah.
Now, what's important to always remember is that you tackled this in a different way, Talal. You said that people believe that it's very difficult for them to change. The thing is, it's not difficult to change. What is important to remember is that people always think that they expect, you know, when you come into something and you are expecting things to change for you overnight, and you do the work partially, nothing will happen, right? Why? Because you're not really stepping into the embodiment of whatever you are trying to do. And that's very important in the work that we do. If we are to change our mindset, and we are all about this, and of course this is what we do, this is our mission, right? To help people and support them in that journey to elevate. This is why we do this. We want people to elevate. We want people to get out of their struggles and become the best version of who they already are. These versions, they just don't know, they just don't remember. They just really don't know how much potential they have inside. Most people don't realize how much potential they have internally. And it's very interesting that you mentioned that client of yours who like was completely you know, out of it, and there's no way I can be successful. And then you just reminded him of a very simple thing, and he was like, oh my God, of course I can be successful.
Yeah.
I have already been successful. The matter of fact is, the minute he walked into your office to be with you, he's already successful. Because what is
Exactly.
success mainly? A successful person is a person who has a goal, a defined goal, and who does everything to reach that defined goal. This is, for me, what success is all about. It's not about having money. It's not about being rich, or it's not about having riches. And obviously these are important things, but that's not what success is all about. A successful person is the teacher who decided to teach because she wanted to teach, and not because it's something that, you know, was imposed on her or anything like that. And her value and her worth in this life is to help people grow. And that's why she decided to be a teacher, or he. It's not only for women, obviously. That person who decided to do this and went all in, that is the meaning of success, when you go all in. Now, failure, I don't believe in failure. I believe in experience. I believe in, because we all fail. We all fail at one point in time, because if we don't fail, we will not understand what it means to be in that successful place. If we don't stumble, we will not be able to understand the meaning of how important it is to be walking steady, right? So that's what we mean when we say we take things for granted. If you keep on taking things for granted, like we take our body for granted, but when our body fails us because we are feeding it the wrong things, or because we are being lazy, we're not moving around, and then our body fails us, and then we kind of have this bulb in our mind, oh my God, it's all because I'm not taking care of myself, or I took my body for granted, that my body is going to survive with me all the time. But that's not true. You know, you have to also be the person who embodies whatever you want to do in your life. And this is where the mind shift happens. This is what, the minute you start embodying, you are already in the shift of your mind.
Yeah, yeah, totally, totally. you mentioned the example about failure, and I think this is a typical one. And so you've got fixed. We talked about fixed mindset. We talked about growth mindset. So the fixed mindset is a person who says, "Yes, I know I'm a failure. I've been my parents always told me since I was a kid, oh, you are a failure. You cannot do this. You cannot do that." So I grew up on that. So yes, I'm not surprised that I failed because this is me, and I'm going to be failing always, right? So
Oh,
that's the fixed
sometimes
mindset.
people say
Yeah,
the story of my, I used to say this.
exactly. That's the story of my life. So when we shift, when we give them the opportunity to really make that leap or make that shift into the growth mindset, what would a person who has a growth mindset, what would he say about the same example? As you quite rightly mentioned, okay, so I failed. That's an experience. That's the experience I went through. The question that someone with a growth mindset will ask himself, what did this teach me? What did I learn from this? Okay, so if he only thinks about that incident, that experience, as not a failure, but it's an experience that it's a learning. So what did I learn from this? Okay, I shouldn't be doing this next time. I did that. Okay, I can change that. I have to change this little thing here. Okay, and maybe I can replace this with something else. And he can even write things down. And this is what I tell my clients, whether it's a presentation, whether it's a speaking opportunity, whatever the experience is of something new, maybe they're doing it for the first time, or maybe not doing it for the first time. There's always a learning. So a failure is feedback. A failure is not me failing. It is a feedback for me to learn so that I can change the next time around. So, and once you put yourself in that mindset, as we said, then the whole perspective, the whole, your perception changes. As Dr. Wayne Dyer, bless his soul, said once, I just got his book a couple of days back. It's an amazing book. It's called Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life. So once you change, everything around you change. This is what Dr. Wayne Dyer says. So the change is not happening out there unless it happens within us first. Why? Because again, according to science today, the new paradigm is reality is inside out. It's not outside in. So whatever we are seeing outside in this world is a mirror of how we are actually set, if you like, inside here and here. Okay, so if I know that, and once we start giving, this is a breakthrough. So I'm sure you've gone through that with your clients, as I done, and this is the first couple of sessions when I start giving them these little blips of how the mind works, mindset, cause and effect. Perception is projection. So everything that we are projecting is our own perception. It is not reality. It is not the truth. It is not right or wrong. It is the way that we see things.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is exactly. So we can always change that. If we change what Dr. Wayne Dyer said, if you change your thoughts, you change your life. And as Buddha says, we live in our thinking. So if we know that, and this is where positivity comes in. So why don't if I know that I'm thinking, my thoughts are controlling my life, and this is where the results I'm getting in my life are the immediate, it's the immediate, what do you call it, stepping stone, if you like, of my thoughts, right? So I need to go back to my thoughts, and I need to work on that. And later on, when you go through what can we do, and I think this is what our viewers now are waiting desperately for. What can tell us what can we do? We want to change, we want to transform, we want to have this mindset shift. We're going to tell you that, but we're just going through the basics so that you understand that you are not your thoughts, you are not your emotions, you are not your behavior, you are so much more. And this has been proven, and it is absolutely right, because we all went through that. And I think, the examples that we gave, and if you look only at cause and effect, I always say to clients, these are the two things in life. You're either here or here. There's nothing in between. There's no such thing as something in between. You're either at cause, which means you are in control, which means you are leading something, okay? Or you are at effect, which means that you are going with the flow, the tides, as if you are in a ship, right? And there are waves in the sea. You don't have like a steering wheel, and the ship is going, right and left, up and down, and you're just going with that. So this is when you are at effect. That means you just go with whatever is there. And we call these people, normally they are the followers, or they are the victims. They have that mentality, if you like, from within. They're always the victim of life. They're always the victim of their circumstances. They're always the victim of something that is happening to them, right? Life is happening to me. Life is happening for me, right? This is the growth mindset. The fixed mindset, oh, this is natural because this is me and life is just happening to me. Okay, so we just wanted to go through these few things where fixed mindset is me at effect. A growth mindset is me at cause, where I am in control of my life, where I know that whatever is in my conditioning that is not serving my life, that is not serving my purpose, I can change that.
Yeah. That's very important that you mentioned this. And the thing is, many people out there don't actually know that they can change and don't actually have the tools to change. And this is where you and me and people like us come in to help. I mean, I remember when I started my journey, I didn't know many of this, much of this. And I was always thinking that, like you said, I was always victimizing myself, and I was always thinking, oh, my life, this is happening to me, and this is happening to me. And, that person treated me wrong, especially when it came to relationship. And I always played that role of me being the victim in this relationship, and me, crying in the corner, and why is this happening to me? And why is this happening to me? Without even realizing that everything that was happening was a projection of what I was believing and feeling about myself. And that's
from your own doing.
Yeah, exactly. It's my own doing. And that's where the limiting beliefs, when I started working on myself, that's where I understood, oh my God, that is why this was happening to me, because I have been stuck in that limiting belief or that limiting belief. And because things were happening to me this way or with me this way, because that's how the limitation was controlling the ship that you are talking about. My subconscious mind was controlling. And by the way, no matter how, the trick about shifting our mindset is not about shifting the mind and staying in the mind. It's about making whatever shift we need to make and making it become an autopilot in our subconscious mind. This is the powerful part of things, because that's when what we are doing exactly in that case is we are removing all those limitations. But when you remove something from a ship that is already moving, or a body that's already moving, you want to be able to replace it with other things, because if you only remove, that void is going to need to be filled again. And because your body is going through that conditioning for so many years, for ages and ages and ages, and remember, we spoke about the DNA. So if you keep it empty, what's going to happen is that your body, which is used to something very specific, is going to go back to that habit. And that's why it's very important when we change to replace and to create new habits for ourselves, so that we don't fall back into the old habits. And so that also we are, we become again released from our conscious mind, or from our awareness, so that we can focus on other things. Because if we want to keep on focusing on this, life will also pass us by, right? And we will not have that luxury of living the life that we want to live if we are always stuck on removing our limiting beliefs and digging and understanding what's happening. And, so that's why it's important that when we start this process and when we move from point A to point B, in order for us to stay in point B and then later on move from point B to point C, we want to make sure that this ladder that we took is actually completely gone, right? I don't know if it makes sense, but that ladder is us working on our limiting beliefs and removing them from our system. However, it's also replacing them with those new habits. And replace those new habits, like Talal mentioned, it takes 21 days for you to master a new skill. Literally, for it to become something that you know how to do, something that not necessarily master, but at least you will have it in your life and it becomes a habit. Then you can do it on daily basis, right? But it takes those 21 days to become, for that habit to become part of your subconscious mind, which means what? Which means the minute it's there, it is running on autopilot. You don't need to think about it anymore because you've done that part and it's there on autopilot. And this is how you become the embodying persona or personality of whatever you are learning or whatever habit you are trying to put in your life. It becomes this habit by simply moving it into your subconscious mind and making it a subconscious process.
Yeah. And it's amazing, but going back to what you mentioned at the start, that change can happen instantly, right? In the moment, on the spot. And people, most people, I would say, they don't believe that, and they're like, are you serious? This has been going on for years. What do you mean you're gonna erase that in a minute or in a moment? And I would say, like, would you be open for that? Like, do you believe that? Would you believe that if I tell you that? And they're like, no, I cannot. And I said, okay, if you don't believe that, then I'm sorry, I cannot help you, right? Because what Henry Ford said is that if you believe you can, you're right, and if you believe you can't, you're also right. Exactly. Yeah. So I cannot help any client who has a strong belief that this cannot happen or this cannot, take place. But the other type of clients that I normally receive is that they are so desperate, they have reached a certain point in their life that they cannot handle things anymore. The mind is being the master, right? Their mind is being the master of their life, and they feel they are not in control anymore. And so they come, and when I give them, the calibration that we do in the first session, out of one to 10, where are you? How big is your problem, right? Oh, it's 10. It's 15 over 10. Excellent. How much? How badly do you want to get rid of that problem? Excellent. It's 10. I want to really get rid of the problem. Excellent. Now, from 1 to 10. How much do you believe that you are the cause of that problem, that it is your responsibility? And they're like, huh? No, that's because of, and they start going like, yeah. But then the desperate ones, or the ones that have really struggled and suffered, they know, and they're like, yes, I am responsible. That means I'm not responsible for the problem, but I can be responsible for fixing the problem. Yes. And it's all about me. It's not about, my mom or my dad or my friends or my boss at work. It's not about them. It's about me.
Unless you are the effect, unless they believe that they are the
exactly. If they are at effect, I'm sorry, I cannot help them, because as you know, we are not magicians, we are not fortune tellers, we are not voodoo, whatever. What we do, and the processes and the techniques and the tools that you referred to, are things that we use in our own way, but the change has to come from the person himself or herself. It's not us, throwing a magic wand at a person and then he transforms. But when the transformation, I did a session online, with a client from Egypt, a lady, and she transformed 180 degrees in 2 sessions only. But she was that desperate. She was that, like, at the end of her, she was going through lots and lots, and she was crying all the time, in front of me. And it was a little bit, it was touching. But as you know, we can't become part of the problem. We have to control the process. But the fact that she followed my instructions to the T, and I took her through a hypnosis process. And by the time she came out of hypnosis, she was like, she couldn't even remember. She couldn't even remember what the problem was.
That's amazing. I mean, because this is what we want, right? This is the main thing. And when we work on helping people and on sharing, tools and sharing information with people, it's very important to remind them that they want to keep the change that they are going through, because a lot of people tend to fall back in their old habits. And the reason being is that they have taken years and years to create those habits. That's why they don't believe that, a lot of people don't believe that they can change their habits easily, but they can. But even if they cannot, the idea is, you mentioned something about Henry Ford, and was it Henry Ford, right?
Yeah.
And the fact that if you believe you can, then you can. If you believe you can't, then you can't. So basically, you are what you believe. If I am a believer that I can do things, then I'm definitely going to be able to do them. If I always believe that I'm going to fail, that, and then I'm definitely going to be failing all the time, because this is I'm already there in my mind. I'm already in the failure.
How can you help such a person?
How can I go anywhere else, right? So guys, you want to think about it as simple as that. Believe it or not, it is that simple. If you are believing within yourself, like I'll take an example for women, okay? Not that I have anything specific about that, but let's say a woman who's always thinking and always saying and always repeating, I will never find the love of my life. Guess what? She will never find the love of her life, because that's the thing that she is already living in her mind. And remember, our subconscious mind does not really understand the words, right? Our subconscious mind understands the feelings and understands the emotions. So if I say today, I am never going to find that person, okay? My mind, I don't want that person in my life, or I don't want something to happen to me. My subconscious mind does not understand the word I don't, right? My subconscious mind understands the feeling that I have when I say I don't want that person in my life, or I don't want someone who, like, let's say a woman would say, I don't want anyone to betray. I don't want the person in my life to be a traitor. I don't want him to betray me, right? So whenever she talks about betrayal, her feelings are those of hurt, those of, anguish, those of unhappiness. And that's what your subconscious mind will hear. And that's what your subconscious mind will think that you are asking for. And that's exactly it. It is that simple. If you think about it, it is that simple. Now, just because I'm conscious of the time, oh my God, it's almost 6. We have 1 minute. We can stay for like 5 more minutes, but it's very important, because I promised you guys that I'm going to give you some tools so you can start.
Yes, go ahead, please. Go ahead. Let's give them those tools.
Now, yeah. Because also remember, and look, Talal, once we start, like we said, when you pop, you don't stop. We're going to have a lot of, like, I'm going to have probably a series of mindset sessions.
Oh, yeah.
And so we can help the viewers to, and people who are watching us, so that we can help them the best way possible without keeping them always on their toes. So moving to changing your habits. Let me just give you a little bit of hints of how you can start, changing your habits. The first thing that you want to do is you want to make a new habit a challenge. So instead of just deciding that, okay, I'm going to have this habit, make it a challenge for yourself. Make it something like worthwhile, something that you want to, would wake you up in the morning. Like it's a challenge for you. And remember something very, very, very important. Repetition is the mother of all skills. The more you repeat, the faster the habit becomes a reality. So if you, let's say Talal said 21 days, I say you can even do it faster. If you do it 3 times, 4 times, 5 times a day, you can do it even faster. People like, for example, I gave a 101 meditation, free 101 meditation the other day on my group, just because people don't understand that meditation is a very helpful process, especially in our field. And people think that when they are meditating, they cannot stop their brain from thinking. And I was like, who said that you need to stop your brain from thinking? Actually, you want to acknowledge those thoughts and you want to move forward with the meditation after acknowledging those thoughts. It's not a fight with your brain. It's actually, that's why we meditate. It's you relaxing. So the more you do it, the easier it becomes. And that's why when you create it as a challenge, it becomes something that you want to do. That's one way to create habits for yourself. Another way to create habits for yourself is you make yourself accountable. And by that, I mean, for example, you make it public. Like for me, I'll give you a very, very straightforward example. 2 years ago in June, on the 12th of June, 2021, I decided to quit smoking, and I did quit smoking. But how did I do it? I made it a public announcement, like everyone in my entourage knew that on that day, I'm gonna quit smoking. And until today, I have stopped it completely, and I actually hate the smell of it as well. So that is how powerful it is when you make your habit an announcement. So you become very accountable, because the minute you fall back, people will come and say, you failed. And that is not something that you want to do. That is not something that you want to hear, right? That you failed. Now, the third thing that I'm going to give you, the third tip that I'm going to give you today about how to create your new habits is to make it simple for you, is to incorporate it with a habit that you already have, something that is already existing. Like, for example, if I want, because I'm not much of a reader, right? Excuse me. So I'm not much of a reader, but what I do is I can listen to audiobooks, right? And what I do is I incorporate this with my morning routine. So when I'm doing my facial, my yoga, my face yoga, when I'm brushing my teeth, I have the audiobook running in the background. And that's how I incorporate these two habits together, because obviously every morning I'm gonna brush my teeth, I'm gonna wash my face, and I'm gonna do my morning rituals, right? So incorporating a habit with an existing habit makes it much easier for you to create this new habit. So those are the 3 tips that I'm gonna give you today. What are your tips, Talal? You can give 3 tips. Or you can give just one, if you have any.
It's very interesting, Maysoon. I love what you said about, and I think habits, because habits is like, it's at the core also of a lot of things that it's all about habits. I mean, what you are used to doing, if it's serving you well and it's serving your your life, then great, keep doing that. But if you at any point feel that this habit is not serving me anymore, it's leading to my to something that I really don't want, right, rather than what I want. So what I don't want is right here, and what I want is here. And if I keep looking all the time and focusing on this, that means I'm going to get more of that in showing up in my life. I did a post on that, and there were some very interesting comments. So the mindset shift is a matter of really going from there to really just thinking and looking at what I really want.
Yes.
Okay, you just mentioned that the mind does not understand what
Don't.
I don't want, right? The don't. I don't want to get sick. I don't want to have an accident. I don't want anything happening to my family. I don't. Well, why don't you change the language? Change, it's saying the same thing. I want to be healthy. I want my family to be healthy. It's the same thing, but the mind is going to understand that. It's not going to understand that. So we really want to move to this side now. I also looked up on, things that are, people are, they look online, maybe, how to transform our mindset. You can Google that and you will have a lot of examples. And I saw that, and I was like, oh, and I looked at this huge list of things, I'm glad you mentioned about habits, because habits was not there. So they said, for example, set your goals, make sure that you set your goals. And I'm sure you've seen, a lot of these. And I was like, okay, now what is the one common denominator? And I say, what is common? I looked at all of these, and it's like, there's one thing which is common that people need to know. And this is at the core, and it is at the heart of mindset. It is at the heart of our work. It's at the heart of everything, which is awareness, consciousness. Okay. This is my only tip. It's one tip. Become aware, become present in the moment that you are in. Yes. How do you stop a certain bad habit?
Yeah.
I bite my fingernails. Hands up. I do it. It's a habit. It's a bad habit that I have. But look at me now, okay? All right, excuse the fingers, because they're not. I didn't do a manicure or what do you call it? A pedicure. Okay.
Oh, this is manicure. Pedicure is the feet.
Yeah, manicure. I didn't do that, but you can see my nails, right? So what did I do? One trick, I became aware of me doing the action of biting my nails. So once I became aware of that I am doing that right now, I stop. Yeah. And I take my thumb out, or I take my finger out, or whatever that is.
Yeah.
Right.
There was one. It takes you some time to become, and then it takes you some time for it to become a habit that you stop doing it. Right.
Exactly. Keep doing it every time. Just become aware. Just become aware of what you're doing. Become aware of what you're doing. When you're sitting down, if you go like this, just become aware of that action, of that movement, and then just put it aside. And as we said, if you keep doing that, do it over 21 days, and then it's not going to happen anymore, right? It's going to disappear.
Yes.
One disciple came to Buddha. He's a thief, right? It's a story. He came to Buddha and he's like, I want to be one of your disciples. I'm going to be a...
Seconds. Say the story.
Yeah. Very quickly. I want to become your student, but I have one condition. And Buddha was like, okay, tell me. And he's like, don't tell me not to steal, because I cannot do that. I have to continue being a thief. Just, I can do anything you want, and I'll follow you, and I'll be your disciple. I'm going to be your student, but don't tell me not to steal, because I cannot do that. And Buddha says, I'm not going to tell you not to steal, but I want one. You said you have one condition. I've got one condition as well. All I want you to do is that when you are in the act of stealing, I want you to become aware that you are actually stealing. That's it. So the guy goes into the first house. Okay, and he starts stealing, and then all of a sudden he becomes aware of what he's doing, and then he stops, right? And then the next day he comes back and he does the same thing. He becomes aware, and then he stops, and he kept repeating that. What happened? He's not a thief anymore, right? He stopped the whole thing. So as you said, the habits, that's going back to your habits. What I would add to that is that become aware in the moment of what you are doing. It's the same for your emotions. It's the same for your thoughts. When you are thinking bad thoughts, just become aware of your thoughts, that you are thinking in that way, and that you really want to change, and think about something else. Think about something that makes you happy. Think about a memory that makes you joyful. Think about something that really, aspires you. It drives you. It motivates you. And
change your posture.
Yeah, quickly,
Talk about
exactly.
simply
Go
about
for a walk,
your
go
toaster.
for a, yeah, you know, me and you climb on your bike and just go for a ride, you know, just do anything that will distract you, that will move you away from that thought that you are having. Because what happens is that the mind is so cunning and it can trick you and it will take you into this vortex of really bad thought leading to another bad thought, to another, to another, to another. And all of a sudden, you're just depressed. All of a sudden, you're just down. And this is what we say when you mentioned at the beginning of the talk that it's not enough to say, you know, oh, I'm positive, you know, oh, I feel positive. But deep down inside, come on, who are you kidding? You know, you're not positive. You're just saying it. And
Yeah.
the mind will not fall for that, right? Unless you do put that effort in and you keep on doing it as Maysoon said, it starts, the neuron starts firing and wiring in the brain, and all of a sudden, there's a new habit replacing the old habit. You know, for me, I'm not smoking anymore, I'm not drinking anymore, and I stopped all that, and I'm in a much better state. One more last tip about meditation. When you mentioned, let's do meditation. One of the things that people, find hard about meditation, that it takes a lot of work, right? You need to have everything quiet and you need to burn some, light some candles, you need to put some music, you need to, have some essence around. All that is good. But take it from me, and I do that every single day. I do breathing exercises, and I don't call it meditation because I don't like the word, and I call it just moments of stillness, absolute stillness, that I'm just sitting there. I'm shutting my mind, I'm shutting my mouth, I'm shutting everything. I'm just closing my eyes and just going like this, and it's clear. Everything is so clear in my mind, because if you think that you are in a state of meditation, it doesn't work, because then your thoughts are in that state of meditation. That means you are thinking still, and you don't really want to think at that point in time.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Maysoon, for a wonderful session. As you said, we can talk about mindset forever and ever. I hope there will be, other sessions. I'm more than happy to join you. And thank you very much for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have to do this maybe, I don't know, every other month or something like that, because the topic of speaking about the mindset and what I do, I mean, I've created a whole program around mindset and around getting out of your comfort zone and really start digging in internally and figuring out who you are and why you want to do things in your life, why you want them the way you want them, and why everything, because a lot of people, Talal, they don't stop and they don't ask these big questions. These are big questions. People just go with the flow and they live their life. They don't stop and ask these big questions. And I've created, and this is my invitation to you, by the way, because I've created this whole program so that I can help people come out of their stagnation, come out of their procrastination, and come out of repeating the same mistakes over and over and over and over again, because this is what I was doing. This is what I was doing. And I helped myself by doing so many things. But the beauty is that I put a program together to help you get into a place that is way much better than where you are today. If you are here, when you're done with this program, and when you embody the things that you are learning, when you embody the teachings that I'm going to give you throughout this program, you will be here. And maybe, God knows, you will want to be even higher and you want to go even more. And like I said, when you pop, you don't stop. So this is my invitation for you. If this has been beneficial for you, and if you believe that you are in a place where you are ready to go into that adventure and figuring out everything about who you are and figuring out your limitations and understand how much potential you have, my invitation for you is to get on a call with me. I'm going to be sharing the link below this video for the call. Just click on the call, on that link, book a call with me. Let's have a discussion. I will see where you are in your life. I will see what potential might be there for you, and together we will discuss how it is possible for me to support you, and then we will take it from there. So if you find that this is something that resonates with you, this is something that can help you in your journey, all you need to do is click on that link and book your free call with me. We'll be together for 30 minutes or even 1 hour, and then we will discuss everything and we will figure things out. So don't forget about that. Click that link. And Talal, thank you so much for the time today. And I know, and I'm pretty much sure that everyone who is watching the live today or who will be watching the replay will be asking for some information about you. So I will make sure that I mention that about you as well.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much
Pleasure.
for being here today. What I want to do is maybe, depending on the hype that we have created today, I think we will have to do this more often, maybe once a month or once every other month.
Pleasure. Pleasure. I'm always in for these calls. I'm always in, and I'm happy to do this announcement because on your show, like I haven't done it officially yet, but I'm working with even kids, teenagers, tweens who are also kids, because I think when, you know, the work on mindset has to start the earlier we can start at an earlier age, you know, when we start that this awareness, if you like, campaign at an earlier age, it's always much better. And I have put programs in place. I'm actually visiting a couple of schools next year, and this is all complimentary. I'm doing this free of charge because I believe it's a matter of spreading awareness amongst, you know, the tweens, as I said, who are from 9 to 12 years old, and then the teenagers who are really struggling. And if I've talked to a lot of them, and they are really in a not so good state, if you like, or a not so good place. And I think there is a duty, or there's at least for me, one of the things that I'll be doing this year is actually going out there and really spreading the word out amongst these audiences and this group of people to spread awareness about the importance of you know, mindset, the importance of mental well-being and the mental health. So again, thank you very much. I'm more than happy to be with you on future episodes, inshallah. And thank you very much for everybody who's been online, who watched us live and will be watching the rerun.
Thank you, Talal. And this is amazing that you finish with this announcement of yours. And guess what sort of mindset you have? This is called the benefit mindset. When you are in already, you have done your growth and now you want to share. That's a benefit mindset. So thank you for finishing the live with the third mindset that we did not have time to talk about. And you gave a perfect example for it. Thank you so much for today. I really appreciate the time that you gave. I know you have a busy life and busy schedule. So thank you so much for giving me this time today. And we will definitely talk again soon. Remember, people, if you want to get on that call, just click on the link below this video and I will see you again next week. Ciao, ciao.
Namaste.
Namaste.